Well, we've come back to Iseli Nursery. We have Roby again. I'm going to put some of these Iseli videos in a playlist that I'll link down below. We love coming here. Garden's beautiful. Plants are beautiful. We have a lot of Iseli plants in our garden in Raleigh. We're going to do a video on narrow upright conifers. Okay, and Roby is the expert. He's got the whole list in his head. We're going to go. We're going to go through some that are just super fun that you can add to your garden. You want to jump in?
Yeah. Okay. So we do have a lot of straight and narrow examples that we'll show. This is one that's a little bit more interesting. So this is Picea omorica pendula bruns.
Yeah.
It has a lot more interesting of a structure and it's a little bit more unpredictable, but still kind of maintains a narrow footprint.
Yeah, and it's always got these little crook up at the top somehow. It's always got something interesting right at the top. Tell me what you guys think this thing actually looks like. I don't know from Steph's angle. From a distance over there, I thought it could be made into a T-Rex, but now that's a little closer. It's got like a dragon head sticking out. I think we can turn this one into something. How long have you, what's your role here at Iseli, for those who don't know?
Yeah, I'm the marketing director, so I do the photography, social media, website, work on the catalog, that sort of thing.
The catalog is an extensive catalog,
It's
right?
a big catalog.
It's a big catalog. So you have a tremendous amount of knowledge though around this. We appreciate coming here and being able to have a lot of knowledge about the actual plants. How long would you think this one's in the ground? Just a guess. Any idea?
Oh, I should probably have looked this up. I would say probably this one has 35 years.
35 years to get this.
That would be my guess. It is quite old.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, let's jump to another one. Tell us about the Chartreuse version of a narrow conifer.
Yes, so this is Yontar. So it stays pretty narrow. It has a nice gold color. It gets a little bit muted in the winter, but it holds up quite nicely.
Yeah, and this is Thuja occidentalis, which is native to the northeast United States, from like north of Pennsylvania though, and up into Canada. But people grow them, like Emerald arborvitae is one of these, and so people grow them all over the place. But they need, like you said, even here, you've got to water these a bit because you're dry during the summer. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely, if it gets too dry, it's gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, when we see these in the wild, when Steph and I have been up in Canada and see these, they're in wet, moist areas. Mm-hmm. They're in kind of moist basins. Typically, is where we see them. So it definitely would translate to our gardens as if you don't water this type of plant, this particular species in the ground when it's abnormally dry, you can lose them pretty quick. This gold holds up really well for you guys.
It does, yeah. No, it definitely holds up throughout the year.
We were talking about heat related zones, so we're showing off a lot of conifers that we can't grow in Raleigh. We can grow this in Raleigh. We have this in Raleigh, but some of these other ones we can't grow there, but you can grow here in the Portland area in the same exact zone, yes, or maybe even a zone higher than us. Mm-hmm. So that's the hard part in labeling zones, right, for you guys, for a lot of what you sell.
Exactly, and that is something that we have in our catalog is the minimum zone. So we're listing the minimum temperature it can get to, but we don't list the high temperature. But ultimately the problem is it a wet and humid summer? Is it a dry summer? How intense is the sun? What is your elevation? There's so many different factors that go into it besides the zone. Yeah,
right, and so that's going to be hard. You're probably going to need to, if you're trying to figure out which of these conifers that you can grow in your area. We're from the southeast United States, and the book that Dr. Reuter wrote with Tom Cox on conifers for the southeast is probably a good reference for you, or local gardens are probably a good reference. And then if you find that you can grow it in your area, Iseli probably grows it if it's a conifer, for sure. So for us in our garden, it's super important that we have narrow things, because we have a tiny little space, and I think a lot of people are going to be on small lots looking for things that make a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as a collector, I like to fit in as many things as possible. So narrow is always a positive. Yeah. And here is Kelsoki spire. So this is going to be about 10 feet high by 3 feet wide. It is definitely more compact. The base seems to be a little bit wider than the rest of it, but it has a nice texture to it.
Yeah, it's soft to the touch. This is one I'm assuming you guys grow. Right?
Yeah, this is one of ours.
Oh, it's one of your actual introductions.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
We named it. We introduced it.
Nice. How long has this one been around? This is one I had.
I think this has been out for 2.5, 3 years.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So tell us about this one.
Abies nordmanniana orange dwarf. This is one of my personal favorites, I have to say. This one has not been sheared. This is its natural habit, so it's quite narrow and tall. One of the things I like about this one on the interior, you can see kind of a whitish bark to it, which is a nice little feature.
Yeah.
But this is going to make a great statement piece, really, at an entry, and it does grow relatively slowly.
Oh, it's amazing. And the things we're trying to show in this video are not things that are going to have to be maintained to stay narrow, but these are the things if you have a narrow.
Yeah, and so a lot of the plants in the garden have a natural habit, and we may shear them or prune them to accentuate that habit. But like I said, this one, no pruning on this one. This is just how it is.
Right. So upright and narrow doesn't necessarily mean rigid, and it could have some movement to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a weeping Alaskan cedar. This cultivar is called Jubilee. And so while this specimen is a little larger, so it does have some girth to it, it starts out quite narrow, and ultimately it's great for movement, like you were saying, in the wind. And
you could have narrowed this in even now. It would actually be fairly, well, wouldn't be easy, but a couple of prunes here or there, and I think could be narrow again. This is another one that's super soft to the touch, which I appreciate in conifers. The junipers aren't always soft to the touch, but this is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one actually is, but what is this one?
So this is Troutman juniper, and so this one has been sheared to keep it a little bit more tight and narrow. I have 3 at my house that I have also pruned to keep them a little bit more contained. On their own, they're going to be a little bit looser, but still quite a narrow and nice specimen. Great for drought tolerant spaces, full sun, those type of situations.
It's got a really nice blue hue to it, bluish gray hue to it. The junipers, if you're going through this video and you're looking for ones that are going to be amongst the most heat tolerant, it's definitely going to be the juniper. Is going to be near the top of that list. But man, that thing it's just great. I mean,
and one thing I will say about this too is in comparison to, for example, an Italian cypress, which I have experienced splaying out in the snow, this one does have a little bit more rigid branching structure, so you're not going to have that issue.
Right. And if you have just a really narrow space between you and a neighbor that you're trying to screen, 3 of these in a row is going to make them go, is going to make that a better neighbor for you pretty quickly. So this was a really cool one. It's a real standout in the garden.
Yeah. So this is Lake Street Steeple. It's not one that we grow a lot of, but if you're able to find it, it's a pretty cool collector's item, and it couldn't really be much more narrow than this.
No, definitely not. I don't know that this one, how many of those would you need to create an actual screen?
I mean,
you'd have to put them a foot apart. Right. So this one's more of a Seussian or Dr. Seuss type of tree.
Yeah, I think this is probably more of a collector's item or a statement piece, essentially. Right. But I wouldn't really expect this for a screening.
No. This is one we have in our garden, but this is a very different specimen. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this is Chamaecyparis obtusa Cheerman. Yeah. Very unique. We only sell these in very small sizes, but given time, like everything else, they will continue to grow.
Yeah. Ours is like 4 little branches, and it's maybe this tall. So I can't imagine. This version of it. But it's another plant. I mean, one of the, again, I think I said in the other video we shot together where you guys grow some small container plants and gallon pots and 4-inch pots and that kind of thing. It's kind of fun to take that and turn it in, and watch it grow into this, and you can have it be a container plant, and then it can be several things over its lifetime until it becomes something like this.
And I think that with our climate here and all the water we get, it's kind of perfect for conifers to grow a little larger, a little faster here than they grow elsewhere.
Yeah, they definitely grow faster than they do for us. Our heat challenges them a bit during the summer. They can't really grow during the summer because they have to kind of go survive, and we tend to get almost all of our growth is in the shoulder seasons, in the spring and in the fall on conifers, and not the summer. So this is one we see pretty much any garden we go north of Raleigh, we're going to see this in a garden in all kinds of different ways. Arches and straight up and all kinds of things that people love to do with this plant. Tell everybody about it.
Right, so this is Picea glaucopendula. It's a classic, it's very elegant, and it stays upright, narrow, great in so many different applications.
Yeah, Steph's going to show, well, Steph's filmed a piece that you can see the larger one over there in the parking lot. What's going on with the top of this one?
So one of the hazards with these is birds love to sit on the new growth in the spring, and it can snap off. Now, once these get established, they'll be able to correct themselves on their own, but in this case, it would have been helpful to restake the new growth just to make sure that it's growing at a straight angle. The new growth coming off of this will go upright, but sometimes you may need to correct little things like that, and those birds can be troublesome.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So, and when this thing's bigger, I love how it's like kind of dark green in the middle. And it has that bluish, the newer growth is kind of blue, and it's like it contrasts within the same plant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the blue is a very nice shade, and it does maintain its color all throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Well, this is definitely narrow.
Yeah, this is definitely narrow. This is another fir, so this is Pyramidalis. It stays quite compact. Another one we have not sheared, so this is another great choice if you are looking for a fir.
So that's never been sheared. It's just unbelievable.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, unbelievable. What's the rate of growth on this, would you say?
I mean, so a lot of these narrow ones, there's the leader, which is going to grow a lot faster than the side shoots. So the side shoots maybe would be a few inches a year.
Gotcha.
At most.
That leader might be growing a foot a year or something like that.
It could be, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And you'll pick up in time a little bit. You know, they'll get a bigger root structure on them, and they'll.
That's the thing, yeah. And so I think it's always good to remind people we have a garden size for our plants, but it's just a snapshot in time. They will continue to grow. So I think it's always good to go off of a growth rate and a habit more than it is a garden size or a size that's listed on the tag.
Right. When you say garden size, you're saying in 10 years or something like that.
It's kind of loosely defined.
Right.
I'd say 10 to 15 years on average. But again, I think figuring out a growth rate is probably more helpful in the long run in your spacing.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about plant tagging, and there's a lot of questions around it that I get on the channel about, you know, why don't they say how big the thing actually gets? Well, no one, I mean, number one, somebody might not buy it if I told you how big it was going to be in 75 years. Right. Right, yeah, yes. And number two, we're really just talking about, hey, within the lifetime of a typical garden, like you're saying, garden, you know.
The ideal size for a garden is what we're listing it as. And so ultimately it's just going to depend. If you have tons of space, maybe it's a long timeline. If you're, you know, looking in a tight space, maybe it's 5 to 10 years.
Right. And we've got that green penguin pine at the house, and for us it's struggling in our zone 8 garden. It doesn't want to be there. It's probably only grown this month since I've had it. We saw one in another garden Steph and I did a couple weeks ago, and it, you know, it was one that had put on this much growth this year. You know, it's just also where you are in the country, the kind of seasons you're having, whether, you know, I mean, there's a lot of factors that make it nearly impossible for anyone to tag something and have that tag mean everything to everybody. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, so this is a special one. This is another one we don't have as many of, but it is a really cool cultivar. This is Chamaecyparis obtusa spiralis. Yeah. So this one, it does grow in a very architectural form, and I will point out that this is probably a pretty old specimen. I would say that if you're looking for this in the garden center, you're probably only gonna see 2.5, 3 foot tall. This one's probably 25 to 30 years old.
And this is more specimen plant. It's not, some of these could be used as screening plants in time, but this is definitely more the centerpiece of something. Absolutely, yeah. And it's gonna stay more narrow, so if you want a narrow centerpiece, this is a perfect plant for that. And it's also very fun to prune. We can actually see a prune specimen, that very interesting shape. Okay, nice. This is our second Chamaecyparis obtusa we've done. Shearman was the other one. And look how different these two plants look. People have been selecting and selecting for oddities within this particular plant for so long that Now we got, if you looked at two of them, you go, that's not the same plant. That's not, they're not the same species. You know, it's amazing how much selecting and observation, and imagine that's a lot of what happens here at the nursery is you're trying to find slight differences and moving those slight differences over time.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've been known for a long time of making improvements on existing cultivars, whether that's shape, growth rate, color,
right,
all of those things. And yes, you can continue to select and select and select and create all these interesting shapes and colors.
Yeah, beautiful. Is this the first pine we've included?
It is, yes. So this is Pinus sembra prairie statesman, and it is a narrow pine.
It's unbelievable. Every branch, like it looks like it wants to come out, and then it just as soon as it finds a light, it goes vertical.
Absolutely, and this one is not pruned either, so it does stay quite narrow.
Yeah.
And just like so many other things here, this is perhaps a little larger than you would expect.
Yeah.
But it does maintain that nice shape.
And it's got that blue hue to the bottom of some of the needles there that just make it a standout. This is one we have in our garden in Raleigh. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is a thuya called Primo. It stays quite compact. This is one that we created. It looks almost like a Conifer, but it is hardy down to zone 4. It stays very narrow and quite nice for containers and small spaces.
Yeah, we had ours in a container for a while, and then we moved it around like 3 times. It's one of the most abused plants in our garden, and it's about this tall. So it's kind of fun coming and seeing one. How old would you say that is? I mean, it's
well, so this garden, everything in this section is circa 2008. So this is probably close to 25 years. 25 years to get that size. So if you want something narrow that doesn't take up a big footprint and is interesting in the garden, definitely put this one on your list. But expect if you're getting a larger one, that's probably gonna have to spend a little. So there you go. There's I think 10. Maybe we did 11. I don't know. Maybe there's a bonus one in there. Some narrow plants that people can use for their garden. Some will work for screening. Some will work for just ornamental value. And thank you so much, Roby, for showing us around here again. Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, we love coming here. Thanks.